Hi, my name is Cydney Murray, and I'm a law and policy analyst at the Center for Public Health Law Research, and I'm joined by my colleague, Adrienne.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Ghorashi, she, her. I'm a lead law and policy analyst at the center.
1 year ago, the Dobbs decision upended the limited constitutional protection of abortion afforded by Roe v. Wade. Now, the legal status of abortion varies even more drastically across the nation, compromising equitable access to this essential healthcare. While some states have moved to ban abortion outright, others have enshrined the right to abortion in their constitutions and statutes. The Post-Dobbs State Abortion Restrictions and Protection Status Set, which is a partner resource to the Society of Family Planning's We Count project, was designed to track the complex and rapidly changing legal landscape of abortion throughout the year after Dobbs. Now that we've established some context, Adrienne, can you give us a bit of background on the Dobbs decision and how we even got here?
Sure, thanks. So I think the most important thing to understand is that while Roe v. Wade provided a minimum floor of protection, abortion was already highly restricted in many states prior to the Dobbs decision. So that meant laws like gestational limits, mandatory waiting periods, restrictions on medication abortion and telehealth provision, trap laws, as well as bans on insurance and Medicaid funding of abortion were already in place. So what Dobbs really allowed was for abortion to be banned completely, which just means that things went from already pretty bad to much, much worse.
So, what are some of the changes we've seen on the state policy level?
So obviously the biggest change we've seen are the total or near total abortion bans that rapidly went into effect. And the reason that abortion was able to be banned nearly overnight in some states was because of laws called trigger bans and pre-Roe abortion bans. So these were unenforceable under Roe, but were never technically repealed. So they were still on the books, they were still law. But when Dobbs was decided, these really old and previously unconstitutional abortion bans suddenly became legally enforceable. And then adding to the chaos and confusion of all of that is that there have been litigation battles playing out over whether these extreme abortion bans should be even allowed to take effect. The other thing we're seeing with legislatures are restrictions on access to abortion pills and telehealth for abortion in an effort to block people from receiving the care they need or self-managing an abortion so that they can have access without having to travel far distances.
Considering all that you've just highlighted, can you talk more about how this has impacted abortion access?
Yeah, sure. So the long and short of it on the ground is that access to abortion, which was already out of reach for many folks, has really just been decimated. And that means longer wait times at abortion clinics if you can get one, if not having to travel hundreds of miles just to make an appointment, higher out-of-pocket costs, and struggling to find childcare and meet the other sort of logistical barriers such as time off of work, things like that. And so this really hurts the communities that were already marginalized from care, such as people who have low incomes, people who are BIPOC, gender expansive, rural communities, and young people. It's also affecting the quality of pregnancy and other reproductive health care because of the chilling effect of the law, not being able to understand what applies and potentially affecting the appropriate standards of care. So this will exacerbate a worsening maternal morbidity and mortality crisis, the brunt of which disproportionately impacts Black women. There's also been an increasing concern around the criminalization of abortion. So fear of prosecution and other legal action against providers, helpers, such as abortion funds and practical support networks, and abortion patients themselves. Restrictive abortion bans and the unclear application of penalties widen the net of criminalization, so that potentially allows law enforcement to target anyone involved in abortion care. And in particular, we fear that states may try to criminalize patients who travel to another state where abortion is still legal, but then may face consequences when they come back to their home state where abortion has been criminalized. So I know that's all pretty bleak, but it's not all bad news. I was wondering, Sid, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how we've seen states try to counter some of these attempts to ban abortion.
Absolutely. So as of January 1st, 17 states have enacted shield laws, which aim to shield patients, providers, and helpers from out-of-state civil liability or criminal penalties related to abortion care that is legal in the state where they received care. We've also seen voters in 3 states approve ballot measures to amend their state constitutions to protect the right to abortion, while voters in 3 additional states rejected ballot measures that would have restricted abortion rights. Some protective states have expanded abortion access by expanding provider eligibility through scope of practice laws, by implementing abortion provider training programs, by expediting licensure for abortion providers, and by increasing funding of abortion.
Yeah, I think it's so important to note that when abortion is on the ballot, it wins. And in addition to all the sort of different state policy solutions that legislatures and people can use to try to protect access where we can. So what else are you paying close attention to as we enter this next year of a post-Dobbs landscape?
Yeah, so we're paying close attention to ongoing legal battles, as you mentioned earlier, concerning state bans on abortion, because the outcomes of these cases largely determine to what extent a ban will actually be enforced. We're also keeping an eye on creative policy solutions, such as interstate shield laws and data privacy measures. Finally, in both restrictive and protective states, we're carefully tracking how lawmakers are designing policies around medication abortion, telehealth, and self-managed abortion, especially as legal battles around mifepristone, especially one of the most commonly used abortion pills, continue to unfold both in federal and state courts. As the legal landscape of abortion remains far from stable, there's still a need for continuous tracking of abortion laws. This research doesn't only support evaluations of the impact of abortion laws on the ground and people's lived experiences, but it may also provide evidentiary support for sound policymaking in the future that promotes equitable access to abortion care.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sid. And so the next update to our post-Dobbs data set that we've been discussing, which will include details on all of these policy changes and legal battles from the past year, will be released next month in July. So you can visit that data set now at lawatlas.org, and we hope you'll also stay tuned for that next update. And in the meantime, please don't forget to donate to your local abortion fund.